General weather outlook for the middle part of the country over the next couple of weeks, kind of a significant time of year, and we're looking a look back really at the amount of fall moisture. What is the condition of the soil after kind of an up and down summer weather-wise? Looking forward, I don't see any Arctic air as we go through the last part of November, and we'll take a look and see if there's a weather pattern that might generate some stormy conditions with the holiday season coming up. Let's go back to spring, all right? As the snow was melting and the nation was emerging from winter, we were in pretty good shape after a couple of wet years in the upper Midwest in particular. Dry weather actually began to move in by the time we got to the 1st of June, and some dry soils focused really on the western Dakotas and northeast Minnesota through June. As we went through July, we started seeing some dry weather in western Iowa, and the Rocky Mountain Pacific Northwest drought really began to take hold. The drought in Iowa did worsen, spread across some parts of the northern Corn Belt. Things in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota kind of remained status quo, not terribly dry. We did get a little bit drier parts of northwest North Dakota in the fall, and western Iowa still remains quite dry. Some of the northern Corn Belt a little bit dry, but you can see the focus of dry air across the country. So as we look into the northern plains, things are a little dry in spots going into winter, and it'll likely come out of spring that way. That's the way that usually works. No real widespread drought problems in the Corn Belt, but a few patches of somewhat dry soils. It's really the Rockies, the Pacific Northwest that are really too dry right now. The pattern this week, fairly mild. The jet stream not going up and bringing down any really frigid air. In fact, this week looks relatively mild all throughout the week. By midweek, I expect at least a narrow region of pretty warm air getting up into the 70s, spreading up into the central plains. Most of the eastern U.S. will be fairly cool. The only really cold weather in the U.S. will be in the higher elevations of the Rockies for this week. That frigid weather, that sub-zero air lurking up there in southern Canada. But as we go through Thanksgiving week, it's still looking relatively mild over most of the country. The dark blue, that's where it's below 32, and most of the country is just not that cold. Precipitation-wise, looking for storms now this week, fairly dry through the middle of the country. There will be some snow in the Rockies, some rain in the Pacific Northwest. Otherwise, most of the nation relatively storm-free. And as we look at now Thanksgiving week, November 22nd through the 28th, typically rainy in the Northwest, fairly dry throughout the Great Plains and the Southeast. It looks like for the time being, the rest of November will be largely big storm-free. If we get any bad travel conditions, it'll be from little systems, which we'll have to watch for at the time.